Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Is your bow sight level? Because if it's not, it's definitely going to explain why you can't hit the broadside of a barn on a good day. Now, usually, a manual sight such as this, you clamp it on, that's it, you're done. You have nothing to worry about, right? But why do your groupings still suck? Well, it could be because you suck. That's possible. Okay, could be you're not paying attention to the level. Okay, and you need to. You have to make sure that that bubble is as dead center as you can get it, in order to get your best chances at left and right. Also being accurate for any adjustments you do in here, shot for shot. You cannot afford to twist or angle your bow in any way, shape, or form when you're firing your shot. Otherwise, it's going to throw you out. These are not traditional bows. Traditional bows don't have a sight system. They're not under the same kind of rules as these things are. Totally different universe, okay? So, with that being said, there is a simple test you can do to find out if your manual sight here is actually level. You can do the same thing with a spot hog or an HHA. And that is to simply make sure that if you have any of these dampeners on, push them out of the way, closer to your cam. Make sure that there's no interference here. Put your limb down on a perfectly flat surface, and then this way your bow is going to sit level, and then you can check and make sure your bubble is level. Now, if your bubble is still not level, that could be that there's something with the mount where it's not quite machined 100%. So when you squashed her down onto that riser with all the force from, wherever, that, yep, it's got a twist in it or something. Well, you don't have to worry too much at this point. You can actually shim it, okay, where it needs to be shimmed, either top or bottom. One of them is going to have to be shimmed to get this thing level, okay? It has to sit level. Now, once you get that part figured out, then you got to hold the thing level as you've drawn back, and you're concentrating on whatever pin you need here and your target and the level all at the same time, and then you're going to fire that shot, and voila, you should hit where you're aiming, as long as everything else is adjusted fine for your left and rights here and your up and downs. As long as all that's good, you should be good. If it ain't, you're going to have to go back to the drawing board and fire again, because it does take an awful lot of practice to avoid your bow from actually even moving on you when you shoot. Now, you could still be level, but if your bow torque twists on you because your wrist moves or something during the firing cycle, well, that's going to throw you way off too. And believe me, I've gone through all this myself. I know exactly what it's like, and it's a living hell. But we have to learn how to shoot a bow. It's not as simple as, look, I bought a really expensive bow and it's a really accurate bow. A bow is not freaking accurate, okay? That takes you. That takes straight spinning arrows. That takes proper straight fletchings, okay? It takes the right kind of knock on there to your knocking point here, your string serving. Everything's got to fit and go together perfectly, or yeah, you're never going to win, okay? Now, let me put this up for a second. Now, when you get into advanced sights, like the spot hogs, the HHAs, and so on, high precision sights, these things are a pile of parts that have to go together. And you also have to make sure that this sight bubble is level, okay? Now, you can still do the limb test on this too. Put it on the edge of a table, it's perfectly flat, and you can calibrate it that way. You don't need a second person, you don't need a bow vise of any kind, or any of that jazz. You can just use the limbs, okay? And they'll sit flat on that flat surface, and you're going to be doing it on the angle of a table. You're going to have to hold pressure down here. You may need a second person to adjust this to make sure this hits level, and then you lock these two screws in place, okay? And then once that's level, you're good to go for that part. Now you just got to worry about the rest of it. Micro click, this main windage actually gets adjusted first, so make sure your windage here for your micro click is dead center, and then you go from there, all right? Setting up a high precision sight is a royal pain in the butt, trust me. I've had to reset this myself, and of course, the last time I put this thing back together, because I had to raise this whole unit up on the track, I didn't get this thing quite level, it turns out. I was shifted that away. So yesterday I had to unloosen this screw, I had to unloosen the 2 lock screws, unloosen this one, pinch it back over, get it flushed up, and then tighten it at the same time, okay? Now I've got my sight, I would say about 99% level, okay? It is almost dead perfect center, which is more than enough. As long as it's within that center area, you're good to go, okay? So it's like, oh, thank goodness. Now I got to finish retweaking my windage, okay? Because I've been having a few issues, one of which is this thing has been catching in my quiver. As I'm emptying out my quiver, I get down to my last 2 arrows, and sometimes this would flip over and catch. It could even lock on here somehow, I don't know, but it was throwing my arrows all over the place. So I talked to my guy at the bow shop, and he says, just take the quiver off. I said, but I need it on there for target shoot. Take it off. You're not going to want it on there when you're hunting anyway, because you got to be quiet, and you're in a blind, or you're up in a tree stand. Take the quiver off. This is going to also avoid this rubber band, if that's the style you have, which I do. Okay, it's going to avoid it from getting caught on anything. So this way you're not going to lose your shot, because there's nothing like shooting at a deer and then you hit the other direction. Okay, and I'm hunting for the first time in my life this year. I want every vantage point I can get, which is another reason why I spent so much into this bow. Okay. Anyway, so if your sight is level and you're shooting good and you're a good shot and your arrows run true and straight on your spinner and your fletchings are all good and straight the way they should be, and your knocking point's good, your serving's good, everything's good, then you should have no issues, okay? If you're still having issues, the rest of that's got to be you. You're doing something wrong. And I found myself in the same position. I was torquing the bow on the fire. You know, I'd be like this, or I'd flip it up, or I'd flip it down, or I'm like, what the hell, right? And it turned out it was me, okay? A lot of the stuff we can blame on ourselves, but first we got to make sure everything's good over here, okay? Now, it's kind of like when I tested those nightfall arrows, right? Those friggin' X-Nox suck donk, man. I mean, they are so fat, and you need such a fat serving to accommodate them. I'm not changing my serving just to accommodate a couple of arrows that I bought for testing, which hopefully would have worked out much better. But they did all right, sorta, right? I mean, at least they can group, even though they're nowhere near where I wanted them to be. They did group, right? And they do have some good speed to them, which is nice too, right? So with the knock thing, you're going to have to figure it out, okay? Now, those are very skinny arrows, those nightfalls, so there's not a lot of solutions out there that are going to work. Other than the major one, everybody in the forums is saying the only way to fix this, thicker serving, man. It's your only fix. And then you're kind of stuck with X-Nox at that point, because now all your knocks that working before likely are not going to work for you now. So this is where I'm thinking, let's see, how many dozen of Easton arrows have I got? 4, 5, 6 dozen arrows? No way am I going to just change over my serving for 3 arrows, okay? Even if they do turn out to be even better, because they are straighter after all, that is not going to help the case, okay? So you got to make a fine line adjustment on what you're going to do here, right? Now, there are a lot of arrow choices out from Easton and other companies that don't have X-Nox, and they will have Nox that will lock up to your current string properly and everything else. They're going to be great arrows. So maybe you might want to go after those. But if you're really that analytic and you really got to have that particular arrow, well, then that's all you're going to be buying from this point on. And all your other arrows, find another bow for them, okay? But it's your sight is very critical that level must be mounted, and that level must be level on your bow. Everything on there must be perfectly level to give you your best shot at learning how to shoot your damn bow and hit the target properly all the time, okay? So it's kind of a must thing. I'm no expert, guys, but you know what? I've been learning a lot through trial and error, through studying on YouTube, through studying the forums, and learning about all this jazz, and I'm here to share it with you. So don't forget to check out my archery playlist, because there may be something in there you might be looking for that I've already covered, okay? And if I haven't covered it, ask me about it, and if there's a chance I can cover that, I definitely will do that for you if I can. So, but otherwise, in the meantime, we're going to just keep building things up as we go with this and helping you guys out the best way we can. And, you know, if you're a beginner watching this video, you know what? You definitely need to check out my archery playlist, because, you know, I'm not a beginner, but I have gained a lot of experience over the last 6 months that I should have learned decades ago. And I would have been far better today. Today I would be an expert had it not been for lack of help and lack of a lot of other things. But, you know, doing it wrong for 40 years kind of sucks, other than for 2 years worth, okay? Where I had the right bow for me. And that's the big thing too. You have the right bow for you, and the right setup, the right draw length. All that stuff matters, okay? Not just your sight. But if you've got everything else covered and you're still having accuracy issues, it's either going to be down to your arrows, your arrow nocks, could be your string, could be definitely that sight. But if that sight is dead on level, it could just be even your skill level sucks. You just need to work on your skills more. Be more patient, focus more. I'm learning to focus, and trust me, I mean, it is not easy to focus on a freaking level and a pin and a target all at once. Hold this perfectly straight, pull the trigger, and not budge 1 friggin' millimeter, okay? Not an easy skill, but we can learn to do it, and we can do it quite well. If others can do it, millions and millions of others, probably billions of people out there, then guess what? You can do it, I can do it. We're all good. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Comments go down below, as you know, questions, whatever, your own experiences. Let me know what you've come across. And other than that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Ciao.